visible very well, but on the right side, imagine behind the clouds, it's part of the mountain range of Parnassos, that it goes towards Delphi. And this with the clouds, it's a natural phenomenon that we have in the mountains. When the clouds come really down on the mountains, it's like, we call it like Adara, which means that it's thick clouds coming closer to the ground. So imagine it's a little bit a tall mountain, or on the right hand side, it's not visible, all of it. Like a flucati, as we call it, like a fluff one. And basically you're going to see now, it's a really narrow street that we're going to drive through the village. It's a two-way street with cars parked on the side in some area, so it's a little bit challenging with the big buses as we're passing. And you can see it's basically this is the main road, and there is another road outside that goes around the village, and then it's narrow paths, pedestrian ones, that you walk inside the village of Arachova, the name of the village. You're going to see now in a while it has an area that looks like a balcony, as we call it, and you see the mountains across from Arachova. Here we call it like a balcony because it has this construction here, and you see across the mountains. There is a clock tower, and in front of, on the left, in front of the clock tower, the building, it used to be a school until the early 20th century. Now it is used as a folklore museum. You see the pedestrian paths on the right side inside the village. It has some Greek Orthodox churches. The biggest one, it's dedicated to St. George in the area of Arachova, and in the Easter time they also celebrate, there is a big celebration for the Greek Orthodox Church of St. George at the village. One way to reach at the church from the road that we are, if you take a look on your right here, there are some steps that goes all the way to the top at the church. There is a road on the other side that you can go with a car, but they have those steps also. Trees also in this side, and as we're heading towards Delphi, we're going to see it has many more olive trees. We call it the type of the olives of Amphissa, some big green or black ones, round ones that if you've seen, it's this type of the olive that is produced in this area. The other one, the known one, the Kalamata olive, it's like an almond-shaped black olives. So we're going to stop here. The tavern is called Omphalos, like the navel of the earth, like Delphi used to be, and it was called like that, so call it Omphalos. So we're going to have the lunch break, and then we will continue for the site and the museum.
Here's some of the ruins at Delphi. Delphi or Delphi? Delphi. We're gonna go take a look. bunch of cars parked here. There's a big valley. Delphi. We're at a museum. I'm about to go into the museum.
Tempio del Polo, teatro, vedi tutti i saggiti del film.
It's a drawing that it was made in 1894, you can see. It was made from some noblemen, but so nowadays, the area of the sun is considered the few of those things that you see, but not all the time. As we reach in the literature college, we reach the coast at the falls, down to the right. You see there are some falls in the roof on the top. This goes to the Roman people from the Roman time. And nowadays, just directly through the columns of the sea. Where the statue used to be, statue that it was placed like votive offerings, like we say, dedicated to God Apollo, the patron god of the sanctuary, the prophetic deity that gave the oracles, the Delphic oracles as we call them. What it's also preserved at the site, it's one of these buildings, the treasury, that it was also offerings. Instead of a statue, a city placed a whole building as an offering in the period from 500 BC up until the period of 200 AD. The first buildings, it was connected with the battles during the Persian Wars. One of them, with the Battle of Marathon, it has been restored. So in this area, it used to be the corner of the treasuries, as we call it. And then we have a rock that we call the rock of Sibylla. Sibylla, it was the first priestess of the sanctuary, the so-called Pythia. Pythia, it was a young girl in the area, and then the girls from the families became the priestesses of the sanctuary. And on the side of the rock of Sibylla, we have a part of a column that it was a statue on the top, the statue of Sphinx. The statue, we're going to see it now at the museum. On the side, it was the wall, we call it the wall of the freed slaves. It was where most of the slaves worked inside the sanctuary. They gained the freedom and they write their names on the walls. And in front of this wall, there was another type of a stoa. The stoa, it was this column with the roof, like the stoa that we've seen at Corinth. And this stoa, it was placed also after the last naval battle at the island of Salamis, the island that I mentioned when we were at the Acropolis, the last naval battle during the Persian Wars. And then we will continue and reach at the altar of the temple of God Apollo, that it was constructed by the people of Chios, and the column from the Delphic tripod. If you've been to Istanbul, the original column from the Delphic tripod, it's in Istanbul. Nowadays we have a copy of the original Delphic tripod of the area of Delphi. And then we're going to reach at the temple, that nowadays is just preserved part of the columns of the temple. Above the temple there is a theater, we're not going to head on that side, and further up a stadium. We're going not reaching the area of the stadium because it's really further up at the side. So this one, it gives you a little bit of an idea. Most of the decorations at the buildings and the temple, it used to be colored. It used to have decoration with red, blue, yellow and that. Okay. Now, as we continue inside the museum, just to mention one thing in this display case here, that it shows the first findings that we have, that it was connected with the first religion of the area of Delphi, that it was connected to Goddess Mother Earth, the so-called Gaia. So those small figurines that it's made out of terracotta, it represents basically, it was toys for children, and later on it was found at the graves inside, in the area of the village of Delphi, where it's the museum nowadays. So those indications, it goes back to the period of the 1200 BC, that there was a settlement of people living in this area, worship the goddess of earth, so they had a god worship in those years, and they have those made out of terracotta as offerings for goddess Mother Earth. And it's still found a few of them at the area where we are right now at the museum. Then the bronze findings that we have, it comes from the period of 800, in the period that we call the geometric times. And those represent the cauldrons that it was connected with god Apollo and the priestess of god Apollo, Pythia. The story says Pythia, she was sitting on a bronze cauldron at the Delphi grotto. She was inhaling vapors that it was coming from underground. And what we see here is the bronze cauldrons, and on one side we have the handles and the feet of the cauldron, and on the other side we have those griffins and the decorations that it was placed all around the bronze tripods. So those were connected with god Apollo and the priestess of god Apollo, Pythia. And then we continue. On the other side we have some of the shields that it comes from the workshops in Asia Minor. There is a story that they say in the area of Asia Minor there was a kingdom, the kingdom of King Croesus. King Croesus was living in the kingdom of Lydia, and he came here in order to take an oracle, a prophecy. So when he reached here, he placed offerings, those shields, to god Apollo. He took an oracle about an exhibition that he wanted to start. The oracle said the great empire would be destroyed, and what happened? The great empire was destroyed, but it was his own empire that it was destroyed. So from this oracle, we know that the oracles of god Apollo, it was ambiguous, it had more than one explanation, as they say. So we have the shields from the kingdom of Lydia in coastal area of Turkey. And then we want to enter to the next room. Basically, a statue of we enter this all the way there. That it's placed on the top of a column that we call it the Ionic style column. So you see these bolts on the top of the column. The statue of Sphinx is the story that I mentioned at the bus that I told you as we were passing from the city of Thebes, that there was a creature at the entrance of the city. So here it represents this creature, that it was placed as an offering dedicated to god Apollo. The Sphinx, as you see, has combinations of human parts and animal parts. So it has the head of a human, the body of a lion, and feathers on the back. So this combination of human parts and animal parts, we can say that it was a combination of how the ancient people understood also the power of the nature somehow. So in front of the column, you see at the base of the column, there is also a writing that it says who placed it as an offering. The people of Naxos, one of the islands in the Aegean Sea, at the Cyclades Islands. The island of Naxos, it was the island that placed here as an offering at the sanctuary of god Apollo. All the room here, it has findings from the islands. The other finding we have on the left of the statue of Sphinx, you can see there is another statue right there on the corner. This statue that represents there is the door that has been reconstructed, the door from the entrance of the building, and the decoration, the figure decoration of the prince of the city.